No, we're going live
But
now.
anyway, take care.
Okay, I do believe we may be live. Yes, we are live. Okay, welcome everybody to the Goddesses of the Round Table. This is our final one for a while. We are taking a sabbatical. So I'm just going to sort out some technical things. 1 second. Now, how do I turn off the volume on the recording? Ah. There you go. That should work. So they've changed things again. How we go live on the delay, and continue to the Goddesses of the Round Table. As I said, it's our final one for a while as we go in a sabbatical. So please do enjoy and share this video if you're watching, so that we can get many people benefiting from our insights. So as per usual, I'm going to do our introductions. My name is Yvonne J. Douglas, otherwise known as the Starseed Alchemist, and I'm joined today by 5 other goddesses. Unfortunately, the lovely Gail Edwards can't be with us today, but we do have the lovely June from the Yard of Greatness. And she's not saying hi. Or she froze.
Greetings, everyone. Sorry, I got technical. Sorry, I'm trying to do the page and stuff at the same time. So, but hi, everyone.
Brilliant. I think there's some internet issues, I think, with everybody. So I hope it flows as well as possible. We also have the lovely Sister Judy, all the way from Gambia. Say hi.
Hi, greetings from the motherland to everybody everywhere. Good to be back. Blessings.
Lovely, lovely. We have the wonderful Jackie. Jackie's,
hey everyone. I'm here. I'm always here. Glad to be back. Glad to see everyone. And this topic, yes, I'm interested where we're going to go with this topic, but I'm ready.
Excellent. And we have the wonderful Teresa Fowler, all the way in Mexico.
Hi everybody, bringing you sunshine from sunny Mexico.
Yes, and we can see the sunshine even in your face.
Yes.
Lovely. And the beautiful Hayley Cutler.
Hello everybody, it's always wonderful to be here. Looking forward to today's topic.
Wonderful. So let's get stuck in, ladies, shall we? Celibacy, a very juicy topic. To be or not to be celibate. You know, it's a... I look back to my younger days, slightly younger days, because I am still very young, I think. But to a time when I had split up from my second husband, and I went into recovery from addiction of sorts, and I was wanting to just have sex and just kind of like forget it all, and and my sponsor encouraged me to not have sex, and I was like, how do I do that? How do I not have? No, I'm not that bad, but it was a battle for me, but I kind of listened to his wisdom, and I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did, because I was 3.5 years celibate, and in that time I just spent time working on myself and bettering myself, becoming more self-aware and empowering myself. I mean the journey does continue, especially when you're coming from where I'm coming from. But those 3.5 years were fantastic. Yeah, there were times when I felt like, oh God, but it was worth I don't even want to call it a sacrifice, because I wasn't sacrificing anything. I was gaining something. I was gaining inner wisdom, and yeah, it was great. So I'm going to open up to the ladies and just see what your experiences are.
Can I just interject for 1 second? So
Yes.
when we were preparing this topic of celibacy, I was like, oh, interesting. So, you go and do a little bit of research and you think, so what is the definition of celibacy? The truth is, there's 6 of us here today, and I bet you we've all got 6 different definitions of what celibacy really is. And if we want to be the goddesses that, we are, and get deep down dirty with it, we need to be clear what our definition of celibacy is. So I will start out and say, when I heard the word celibacy, I was thinking, when is there a period of time when I've abstained from penetrative sex and I've not thought about sex? And I put my hand up really quickly and went, yeah, I've gone 12 months in my life without any of those things. But then I realized that some people's definition of celibacy means that, yes, I'm doing other things besides penetrative sex. So I think in all area of transparency, we need to give our definition of celibacy before we enter into anything. So I hand the mic back to you, Yvonne.
Go. Okay, so my definition of celibacy is not having sex with another person. That's refraining from sex. You can't help. I don't know how someone can say you haven't thought about sex, because I think that's kind of rubbish. Absolutely rubbish, because then there's something wrong. But that maybe some people can go without thinking about it, but that's not my definition. So my definition is I abstain from sex with other people. And I'm just thinking about, I can't even remember if it also included me not self-pleasuring myself. And I can't remember if that was included. But I do feel that the longer I go without, the easier it is to do without. So anyway, who else is what's your definition?
I think for me, choice has to come into it. I don't know whether it fit the Oxford definition, but choosing to actually wait, okay, for that special relationship would be how I would want to define celibacy. And as I said, it's an active definition, choosing to wait and choosing to have that special relationship with yourself and not sell yourself short by having sex because you feel pressured or just because you have a weak moment with the wrong person. So that's my very wordy, lengthy, non-Oxford English dictionary definition for you. Okay?
Yeah,
Thank you.
mine would be along the lines of what Yvonne said. Yeah, I don't believe people. I mean, unless you're asexual, I have come across people who say they're asexual and they just don't think about sex at all. But I think it's kind of strange if you don't think about sex. So being celibate doesn't mean you can't think about it. You just don't act on it with another person. Self-pleasuring, that has nothing to do with celibacy for me. But I've found I think I'm probably the longest person here. I just realized it's the 16th of May, so I've just realized I've been 8 years celibate since this month. And I've used that
Wow.
time. Yeah, I've used that time to really, really work on me. And because, you know, in the past when I wasn't in a relationship, yeah, anybody who would be like, I'd be like, oh, okay, you know, because I didn't care about myself. But now that I love myself so much, yeah, celibacy is just kind of like it's just a byproduct of where I'm at, because I love myself so much that I'm not even going to vibe with anybody who's not on the same frequency as me, never mind steps up and shows me more. And then I may go, okay, you may be considered. But until then, I'll be celibate for another 10 years. I really don't care. That person has to be right. So yeah. So I don't know if I'd say I was celibate by default, but the fact that I've used that time for me to know that I deserve the best. I'm not just going to take anybody just to have sex. Been there, done that. That didn't get me anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm in
Absolutely.
on it.
Thank you, Judy. I mean, thanks, Teresa. Sorry. Who wants to go next? Jude, Hayley, Jackie.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, so for me, it's total abstinence from sex, obviously, and even self-pleasuring. So yeah, just a pure cleanse. Just staying away from all sexual activity and focusing my mind on other things. A real kind of spiritual cleanse, really. Like, I've gone through periods of abstinence. I think the longest I've been is over a year, which I guess isn't that long, but yeah, just really taking back control of my energy, of one's energy, and just purification, really, and not getting kind of entangled with another human being sexually. So it's helped me a lot, actually. Practicing yoga. Actually, when I started Kundalini yoga, it was when I started Kundalini yoga, I went through, might have even been longer than a year, to be honest with you. A long kind of abstinence where I really had to just focus on my own energy and taking care of myself. So yeah, for me, it's both. It's masturbation, everything, just sexual contact with another person and myself, and purification of thoughts. Because it's not just, for me, it's not just about the act, it's also cleaning up the thoughts as well in the mind.
Okay, we'll move on to June or Jackie.
Yeah, I think that just froze.
So for me, my definition of celibacy is similar to what Yvonne said about just not having any sexual contact with somebody else. But I just wanted to pick up on something that Judy said as well about choice when we're talking about defining celibacy, because just from a lot of my own experience and kind of what I've heard from other people, from other women, particularly Black women, about this topic, is that there's a difference between celibacy when you're choosing to abstain around exploring what's going on for you and giving yourself a break and doing all the spiritual cleansing and all of that kind of stuff, and then celibacy as it relates to a trauma response, because sometimes our bodies can get so shut down, and I've been in that place where I've just not had sex for years because I was terrified of so to me, is that celibacy? I mean, it's a form of celibacy, I suppose, but I think if we're going to have a conversation about defining it and what it means, I think it's important for the person that's going through that to define, you know, is the celibacy a shame and fear-based trauma response, or am I choosing to take time out to really get to know my body, to understand, to you know, build a different relationship with my pleasure, with my body, you know, all that lovely stuff. Because they're two very different conversations. So I just wanted to flag that up, because obviously when Judy said about choice, I'm just thinking, well, if it's trauma response, it's not choice. You know, it's a survival behavior. And I know a lot of Black women that, you know, that are in that place. And so the topic of celibacy is just, can be excruciating, you know. So I thought it was just important to say that.
Yeah, thanks, June. I think, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That is really, really true. Because I think I've had a period of time in my life when it's been out of fear, because of trauma, sexual abuse, and it's a big thing, actually, to be so fearful of having sex because you're traumatized. And it takes so much work and nurturing and counseling to get to a point where you're no longer feeling traumatized about sex, because sex is a natural thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a loving thing. To be able to share that energy with someone else in a loving union. So if you're scared of doing that because of your experiences, then I would definitely recommend people get the help that they need and take the time that you need to you know, get through that and release that trauma. You know, being celibate out of choice is a wonderful thing as well, because you choose to just take time with self, nurture oneself, cleanse oneself, because we must remember, as women, when we do have sex, make love, we take on the masculine's energy. When they ejaculate into us, we're taking that energy. And if you think as they may have had, and all the energies that you can be receiving as a woman, because we are the receivers, we have to be very, well, for me, I feel we have to be very mindful with how, you know, we conduct ourselves in that way. So, and I think in between partners, even if you don't decide to be celibate for a long time, I think it's a good idea, not I think, it's a very good idea to do a cleansing, a sexual energy cleansing after, if you've broken up with a partner. Use only yoni eggs, have a yoni bath, yoni steam, do rituals where you clear and cleanse, do a cord cutting from that person, you know, clear their energy completely in your home, in your body, in that period of time before you move on to another one. So yeah, that's just my little input there. So yeah, who would like to follow on?
So, you know, that some really good points have been raised about the definition of celibacy. And my sort of experience to add to it was that for me, I consider myself a late starter. And maybe it's because I wasn't having conversations with people about sex, but my first sort of sexual experience was in my 20s, because my actual first love was reading books. And I guess before I even had sex, I probably read a lot about sex before it even happened, not consciously, but just things that I came across like in my early teens and being at uni. You know, everyone's talking about their first sexual experience, and I'm like, that hasn't happened for me yet. But also, I think there was a part of me that, you know, in the group, I'm the whole romantic one, want the man on the horse to come and meet me, etc. So even when I met my partner of that time, it was like maybe a good year and a half before we had sex. And now looking back with the wisdom I have now, I realized it was because it was really important for me to get to know that person before they were inside me. And I think that's made a difference to sort of like my story about having sex. I just think it can be a beautiful experience, and abstinence for too long in my mind is a bit like, but it's so joyous. Why would you, not entertain it? Why would you not have regular sex? But looking at it from the point of view of trauma, I can understand that, some women literally feel it's not a great experience and they see it as just maybe the only power they have. And sometimes, you can be in a relationship and be celibate. And I think that's quite healthy as well. It's not just because you're single, because the one thing I would say about my periods of celibacy is that I know where I like to be touched and I know where I don't. And so it makes it quite dynamic when I'm with someone, because I don't have to teach them anything really, because I know what it is. It's about exploring them. And I think celibacy can work as a positive. And if there isn't any trauma there, I think, you should experiment, you should explore, you should allow yourself the ability to just surrender and release and enjoy. And I know that's going to be controversial in the group, but I do believe in just releasing. And that's what sex is. It's a really nice release with the right person in the right space. When you've done that work, when you've done that bit of work in yourself, where you're like, even if this doesn't last forever, the experiences that we do have when we're having sex are positive. You really make sure your needs are being met, and you know what the other person's needs are. And that's just my little tiny view on celibacy.
It's the absolutely great points, Jackie. But I would like to stress that it's got to be with the right person and in the right space and time. And until that happens, no one's coming anywhere near me. Because I've had periods in my life where I didn't have that self-respect. I didn't have that self-love. I didn't have that self-awareness around my body and what it is that I wanted, because I was just out there looking for love in all the wrong places. And I was operating from a place of trauma, not recognizing how the sexual abuse had affected me. So when I was in the club, I was just attracting all the awful men who could see trauma written up here. And, they were just approaching me, because obviously I was also very drunk at those days. And so, I was promiscuous. So now I really value and honor my flower garden. It is a beautiful flower garden, and no one is getting in there just like that. I am sorry. It's just not going to happen. So I don't mind being celibate. Yeah, sometimes I do think, oh, I wish I could have, have some sex, and people will say, oh, use your toys, and yeah, we can use the toys, but it's not the same. It's not the same, is it? We know it's not the same, but hey, it will do for now. And so, do you know what? I find that the toys are a savior, because where I didn't have as much self-control back then, the toys kind of helped me to have that control, because I could self-pleasure, and it would be like, yeah, okay, you're safe. You don't have to worry about contaminating your energy. Because my energy is pure. This is goddess energy now. So yeah. Come in. Who wants to?
You made a good point about, when we have somebody inside of us, we're taking on that energy. I even believe even before they ejaculate, we're still taking on that energy because they're inside of us. and having done a lot of work on myself to clear that energy, which wasn't easy. And now, yeah, exactly. Lovely lady garden. If you're not vibing, then you're not coming in. And if that means I'm going to be celibate for the next 10 years, as I said, I don't mind at all. I'd rather be celibate than taking on somebody else's energy that I don't need in my life.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And, you know, up until my last relationship, actually, and this was after my ex-husband, I despise sex. I just did it because I thought it was what you were supposed to do. I thought, you know, well, if some man wants me, so like I'll just give it to him, right? That was how low my self-worth was. But that last relationship did teach me that surrender, Jackie, and I know how beautiful that surrender can be now. So I also know I'm not just gonna have sex just because it's offered. It ain't happening. I know what that surrender can be, and yeah, that he's got to step up to the plate completely.
Yeah,
Completely.
absolutely. Yeah, they got to be worthy, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
They got to be worthy of all this divine goddessness.
Mm-hmm.
And just following on from what you were saying, Teresa, as well, it just kind of made me think about how often we kind of give away our sexual power, or we give away our energy because we think that the other person is supposed to give me pleasure. We want the other we give away our power because we just think that sex is about, oh well, he has to turn me on and he has to do that, because we're so shut down in our own bodies, and we've never been taught. A lot of us have never really been taught, because there's a lot of shame and stigma still around around the whole conversation around sex. I literally taught a workshop a couple of weeks ago to some people in Australia, and basically the topic was the politics of pleasure. And honestly, the faces on the women, they were just like, oh my God, are we really gonna have this conversation? Because it triggers, it's such a loaded conversation, so people find it hard to talk about pleasure and celibacy and all of that. And for me, like, one of the benefits of celibacy for me more recently is that I've really learned a lot about my relationship with my body's like totally changed. And it's because I'm reclaiming my power. I'm no longer handing over, all the trauma and all the sexual trauma, whatever that I've been through as a child and an adult. I'm my sexual choices are no longer being driven by that trauma and that fear, because, like, do you know what? I will go and do the work. I will go and do the trauma therapy. I will go and talk to a therapist. I will do whatever I need to do because I want my body back. I want the pleasure back. It's mine and I want it back. I want to be able to go into a relationship with somebody and for it to be reignited as an adventure, not to have the baggage that's been there. And honestly, like, my relationship with that whole part of myself has just completely changed, and it's just been really, going from somebody that was celibate because of the trauma to being in a period of celibacy, and kind of now just kind of on the cusp of coming out of a period of celibacy, because I've but yeah. And I'm really looking forward to it. But I've had a lot of fun on my own. I'm telling the truth. Like, because I want to be able to bring that to the table as well. Like, I'm owning my pleasure. I'm owning my body. I'm not giving that responsibility to anybody else for them to go around and say, well, oh, he was rubbish because he didn't do this. Do you know what your body does? Do you understand how your body ticks? Exactly. And I'll just finish on this. I saw this TikTok the other day. If you're under 18, just sort of close your ears a bit, because I'm like, this can be a bit X-rated. But this woman on there, she was a sex educator, and she had this I don't know if I've got anything that is a bit like it, but she had this diagram of a clitoris, right? And she said, look, everybody focuses on the little bit at the end, but she said that it's got these long nodule bits that cut, and it's quite long, it's quite a big thing. And I was like, do you know what? That part of your body is not for anything else except pleasure.
Okay, there we go.
It's not for anything else except pleasure. So why am I, hello?
Okay. You know, I had a conversation with one of the goddesses around here, and as soon as I tell you a little bit about it, she'll know who she is. And she was like, do you know what? Have you ever taken a mirror and looked down there and actually got to know what's going on down there? Because you need to. You need to do that. And
You do.
you know, goddess, if you want to share your expertise and put it out there, I think you should. Because now the last show, we need to be real with these guys out there. We need to be real.
Yes, I totally, yeah, salute you for that, Jackie. It's true. I mean, to echo everything that's already been said, but I think before we can really enjoy sacred sexuality, we have to really start with ourselves, don't we? We have to really get to know our own bodies and undo all of the overriding that we've all been conditioned to just follow, because we've all overridden, well, a lot of us, I shouldn't say all because that's generalizing, but many women, many of us have overridden the messages that our body is actually giving to us. I know I have, my golly gosh. I mean, the amount of times that well, I just kind of ended up disassociating because, you know, I wasn't really in my body because it was all happening so fast and I didn't really know what was happening. And I, you know, felt like someone had something around my throat because I couldn't talk. And so it's been many years for me also undoing all of that and healing myself. And so I've, yeah, I mean, the whole mirror thing, just building the confidence to actually get to know your most intimate parts, I think is so important. Many women do not have a clue what they look like. Like June was saying, you know, it's okay to kind of explore and touch yourself and find out what it is that you do like and how you want to be touched. And there's, again, echoing, but so much shame, you know, doesn't look like this and it should look like this, and all of just awful stereo, you know, all of the horrible things, messages that are given to us about what's perfect and how it should be. So yeah, in Tantra, they teach you so much about slowing down. The emphasis really is on slowing down. So, you know, in order to slow down, we do need these breaks, literally, of just time out, because otherwise you're just getting overstimulated and you don't even realize it. A famous Tantra teacher called Margot Anand talks about how we've all been self-raping. She says very clearly in one of her books, every single time you have allowed a man to enter you when you have not been ready, not wet enough, and even if you are really wet and lubricated but mentally ready, you know, are you even ready to have somebody enter into you so quickly? And the answer is no. And so every time we've allowed that to happen, we've been self-raping. So I mean, all of us have been self-raping. And I know for myself, I have really had to, yeah, I've had to take time to just even know even recognize when my is turned on, because for a long time I didn't actually know. I couldn't tell the difference. I know that might sound a bit strange, but I actually couldn't. And yeah, so that's taken a long time. And so I think this idea of just celibacy, abstinence, just putting on the brakes, just taking time to just slow everything down so that you can actually get more into the energetics instead of the default, which we're all into, which is like, you know, do, 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 do. You know, men are just like, ooh, 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 you know, I've got to, and it's just like, and you know, before you know it, like most women are just like, you know, and you just go along with it. But the first 5 minutes of it feels exciting. But I think most women, if you've sat, we've all sat in circles, most women that I've heard have absolutely said, you know, after that, they're really not enjoying it. And then they're kind of checking out. They're not fully present. And so you're not really truly in the experience. So it's really, I highly advise just taking time out, just so that you can heal and get to know your body. And like we said, yoni eggs and touching your body and just kind of really, connecting. And then that way, when you are with somebody that you want to be with, it's so much more conscious and consensual and consensual.
Yeah. I think, I mean, just following on from what you're saying, Hayley, and what the other goddesses are saying is celibacy is, it's, one of the highest acts of love. Love in terms of how you see yourself and your relationship with yourself, love in terms of how you treat yourself, in preparation for the next, greatest love, with, a partner who will really reflect that love that you have for yourself back. Yeah. I was also thinking about what you were talking about, Hayley, about the kind of the 5 minutes of pleasure and then the, kind of ongoing disappointment or disaster that happens when you haven't loved yourself enough, or you haven't spent enough time being celibate and self-loving, that you kind of pick the wrong partner. I think celibacy in this era of where everything is so sexualized is an act of rebellion. And I think it's very difficult for a woman, particularly a young woman who's really finding out about herself and who she is, to actually give herself permission to be celibate, because the pressure for her to be sexual that she's going to receive from partners, I feel, is very high, and maybe even more so now, because I think that we're living in a very sexualized era. So I do think that it's a beautiful form of self-love, and it's the foundation of a loving relationship. But I think that it's very hard for women to be celibate and to be comfortable with that without pressure from outside. I'm not sure how other people feel about that.
Well, have you noticed, Judy, they've changed some of the terminology as well. They have inner course and outer course. Now, in my lifetime, I only knew about inner course because you're having like penetrative sex. But actually, oops, are you still there? Actually, you have, sorry, my phone rang. They have outer course, which does include like self-pleasuring. It does include intimate kissing. It does include oral sex. So rather than deal with the real being celibate, they've created new terminology to kind of, so women can say they're being celibate, but they're performing outer course rather than inner course.
Intercourse.
Yeah.
Sorry,
or
exactly. Oral sex is still having sex. That's not being celibate. That's not being celibate.
No, I would agree.
There's always something, isn't there, to try and distract people from being still, being with self, really getting to know oneself, getting to know one's power, one's innate power. They always try to stop us from doing that in every which way they can. And you know, for us women, the more we can be still, be within, really come to terms with just, not even come to terms, it's not a big deal. Once you've gone through a whole heap of work and you've come to this place of healing, it's not a big deal being celibate. It really isn't. Before, as I said, I used to struggle. I used to think, I used to think somebody was taking my cookie and my cake away, you know, like I couldn't have what I wanted. But now it's like, it doesn't matter, because what's more important is me getting to know myself and claiming back my power, my sexual power. Our yonis are powerful. Powerful, powerful, powerful beyond measure. And if women start to know this and recognize this, things will change between men and women.
Yeah.
Okay. So many women, as Hayley said, have just laid back and what's the famous phrase? Lay
Thought
back
of
and
England.
think of England. Yeah, bollocks. Yeah.
Yes,
I ain't
indeed.
laying back and thinking of nothing. I'm taking
Certainly not England.
I'm taking part. Yeah, and we're not disassociating because we're traumatized. We are going to be fully present.
Yeah.
And if you are struggling with those things, like being fully present, if you're do the work, because ladies, your yoni is powerful.
Mm.
You don't have to be out of a relationship to do the work. You can do the work in a
course.
relationship.
So you can enhance it.
I just want to drop one more bombshell. So this research that I was looking at on the internet, it also says one of the disadvantages of being celibate is that you are isolated and you might feel different from your friends. And I thought, it's called individuality, isn't it? It's called tuning into your body. It's called understanding what's important to me. But they named this as a big disadvantage for celibacy. The benefits of it was less risk of pregnancy and less risk of STIs. And I thought, that's not very deep. It's quite surface level. It's quite surface level. And although it did bring out being celibate means that you can do a lot of personal development, I don't think really, like, we've raised so many things here that are pertinent for people to think about whilst they're being celibate. And you know, I was just, as I said, I googled it because I just thought, what else can we really bring to the table? And today we need to bring truth, because as Black women, we've spoken about the trauma that we carry. We've spoken about the lay back and think Britain. You know, we really, and I hope the women listening to this will react instantly. It's not something you have to plan next week, I'm going to do it. It's something that you can actually implement now.
Absolutely.
Right now. Even
so
if it's
you don't have to jump from sort of like, you know, from being completely abstinent to kind of, you know, going out and buying loads of toys. You know, you can sort of, you can begin by just being more present to your own skin. Like, as an example, you, instead of spending 5 minutes kind of creaming up your skin, give yourself 20 minutes. You know, that's how you begin to change the relationship with your body. It doesn't have to be all about what's going on with your pom pom either. You know, it's about being more sensual. It's about being more present. That's how, you know, sexuality is rooted in that. And it's about understanding as well your relationship with receiving. That's probably been the most important thing for me, understanding and exploring my relationship with receiving. Because if you, you know, didn't have a good relationship with receiving as a child, if you were neglected as a child or anything like that, this is outside any, obviously the sexual trauma and stuff, abuse is one thing, but even if you weren't used to, if you were neglected as a child and you're not used to receiving, you feel shame about receiving, that's going to impact how you feel about your sexuality and how you feel about your body and about being sensual. Because being healthy sexuality is linked to your ability to receive. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Healthy sexuality is linked to your ability to receive from yourself before anybody else.
And how many times have we heard it's better to give than receive?
Exactly. Exactly.
That sticks.
Yeah. If there's not better, we have to have a balance. Actually, the balance of giving and receiving has to be there.
Yeah, on an energetic level, cause and effect. It's a
Absolutely.
universal law, so we have to receive as much as we give. But you know, and especially as Black women, growing up as Black women, it's in our DNA that our ancestors gave and gave and gave and didn't receive. So that's a balance that it's our self-responsibility to find that balance within ourselves so that we clear that trauma.
Definitely.
I mean, in Tantra, they talk about a woman should be having at least a dozen orgasms before she's entered. At least, ladies, everybody out there listening to this.
Hey, that's the case.
Yes.
Step up.
We need to be
That's never
revered.
Let's go to a Tantra workshop.
We seriously need to be revered. A man really should be.
Holly, please lead the workshop.
So yeah, you need to come to the workshops that I've been to.
Yes.
But no, seriously, ladies, everyone that's watching today, it's so vitally important for you to understand that sacred sexuality, like everybody has just said, Teresa just mentioned, you know, it's the honoring, it's the honoring of the masculine and the feminine, the Shakti and the Shiva, and your man, any man that is lucky enough to have you, to be in your aura, to be in your space, should be kind of rolling out the red carpet and making sure that you are happy and satisfied, because if he's got one cell in his brain, he will understand that will give him many beautiful returns, many, and it will go on and on and on and keep flowing, because that's the capacity that we have as women. But we cannot, those gates will not open unless the right preparation and the time. Slow down, and don't ever be scared to tell a man to slow down, ever. It's our birthright. Stop, can you just slow down, please? You know, we are not here for a 3-course meal. We're here for like an 8-course degustation twice. You know, like that's the way we've got to think about it. I know this sounds a bit, but it's true. And this is what I've learned through the tantric work that I've done, you know, the eye gazing, the preparation, the whole thing. It's, you know, you're entering into sacred sexuality. I'm not saying it has to be like that all the time, but you know, if you can kind of engage in that now and again and make time to really celebrate what you're doing, it's just, it takes it to another level. You're just like, wow. You know, you go from like McDonald's to, well, the 8-course degustation.
Absolutely.
So you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And also, one last thing I have to say is, if you have too many partners, they talk about this in yoga, and I'm sure Judy will second this. What happens is your aura, a woman's aura, her glow, her radiance gets diminished.
Yes, that's right.
Diminished, because what it is if you keep letting men come and take your premium fuel, you know, your premium fuel, then every time you're getting drained, it's like a bank account, and you're going to end up with nothing in your ATM, in your bank account. And that's what they do. So this is why women have to have spiritual connection, because that's where we get our energy from, the spiritual source. So if we're doing our work, then we'll be okay. But if we're not, and we're just like you said, Yvonne, trying to get love in all the wrong places, you see what happens to women. You see them in their 20s, young beauties on their side. You see these women literally 10 years later, and they are not so beautiful. They are not so gorgeous. They have lost their beauty, and that's what happens. So we have to know this as a woman, if you want to stay, you know. Anyway, sorry, just like took up the space.
No, absolutely perfect points, you know, because I feel that it's there's different levels of having sex, and for me it's about having sacred sex now. It's not about low vibrational sex. I don't want that. I want the high vibrational sex, where it's love making. It's where I get into that trance like state because I'm highly spiritually connected, and that's that's what it's about for me going forward. It's not about the low vibrational wham bam thank you ma'am. That's just not work anymore. You know, we are evolved, we are higher, you know, we're higher beings. So yeah, so it you know, and you know, we're talking about our experiences as women, but I also feel that this conversation can also include men, because
Yes.
they too can be celibate. They too can take the time to get to know their bodies and to know how to please and to receive and to cleanse, and they too can do the same. So it's not just for us women. And I think, because I think men are quicker to jump late to relationship. They don't like the time in between as much as women. They find it more difficult, and they'll have that time of celibacy and get to know themselves and do any healing work that they need. I think it will be great, because you know, there's a lot of really good quality women out here, and um, yeah, the men.
Yeah. The truth is, they are out there.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
But
Where are they?
No, they are out there.
They're at the
They
Tantra
are.
workshops.
I need to go to the Tantra workshops then.
You know what? They might not be at the workshops, but they are out there. But you see, the more we speak about this, the more opportunity it gives them to realize that there are women who are celibate and women who are, you know, precious about what they're going to give out. But
Yes.
it also means, you know, us women have to show up on point,
Yeah.
you know, stay, and we're like, yeah, he's sexy. I just what you don't want that. You're just saying that because that seems to be the script. Don't do that to yourself. You know, take your time. There are good men out there. 100% there are.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's good
Yeah.
men. Yeah.
You're not quite there,
workshops.
but it's the Tantra workshops, and when we've all completed the Tantra workshops, we'll be having a completely different discussion. But bringing it back to celibacy here.
Sorry, I got my fan.
Yes, bringing it back to celibacy, you know, that maybe there's something about like attracting like, and there's, you know, about having an energy that you're radiating, a very sacred kind of loving energy that you're radiating, okay, through that experience of celibacy and real self-care and spiritual development, that will then attract a like-minded energy too. Because, you know, I suppose what we think about, we bring about, what we give out, we get back. So keep thinking celibacy, keep you know, engaging in those acts of self-love, and you know, making a commitment to yourself and not a commitment to people pleasing and just being, you know, the stereotypical woman that is there just to give to others, just to have her body used by others. Just, you know, reconnect to self, and you know, with that energy that comes from that loving energy that comes from that, seeing what comes back. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the time goes quite quickly. You'd be surprised. You would be very surprised at how quickly the time can go. I mean, without divulging too much, 2019. Yeah, if it wasn't for the twin flame, it would be 2.5 years of celibacy. And that went quick. It went very quick. So
quality,
yeah.
not quantity. I think it's quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
It's about because actually in yoga they talk about, you know, our teacher spoke about, you know, it's better to make love, really good love, once a month. rather than like bang, bang, bang all the time. You know, that if the quality is so good, the energy, the glue that gets, you know, that gets made from that could last you weeks until the next time when you know, decide to come together. So and also just getting off the idea that we've always got to be penetrated. We don't always have to be penetrated at all. Like our nunnies change over time, especially as you get older, actually. A woman's nunny does not need to be like having that later on in life. Like, we're delicate. We need to take you, do you know what I mean?
So
because
true.
in the same way that your skin sags on your face,
So true.
the same is gonna happen to that if you don't take care of yourself.
Now I'm in perimenopause. It's even more precious, trust me.
Exactly. Yeah, because the membranes and everything, they thin out.
Yes.
They thin out. So yeah, the whole thing needs to kind of step up. But I think conscious touch. What about conscious touch? What about eye gazing? What about
eye gazing, all that stuff?
You know, one of the most fascinating things that I kind of that we learned on my Tantra course was just this idea that there's so many areas of your body, erogenous zones, that just can be just as orgasmic. If you put all your attention, let's say, into like the crease in your here and just inside of your elbow, I mean, if you were to just pay attention to that for long enough and really get into that feeling, you'd be quite surprised at some of the sensations that you can actually experience. We've been so programmed to just kind of think, oh, it's only the genitals. Well, it's not only the genitals.
No, it's
actually
not. And if you're aware of your star sign has a particular part of the body that is very sensitive for each star sign. So I know for Taurians it's your neck, and I know for Pisceans it's your feet. So go do some research and find out which part of your body is the real extra sensitive part of your body. Because I know for my neck, don't whisper around my neck. I will not be held responsible.
You won't maintain the celibacy.
Just say,
oh gosh!
We need to continue this show again. We need to bring this back. We need to bring this topic back when we come off Mount Olympus after our what do they call it? Our sabbatical. Yeah, the goddesses need to bring this topic back because all of your faces are glowing. glowing. I haven't seen so much laughter in a long time. So this is what it does for us. We need to bring this back. And I think, Eve, please, can we have a divine masculine up?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. What we'll do, we'll find maybe two men that we can bring Shamari back, because I think he's brilliant with these topics, and we can find another man to join us and have a nice discussion around this. I think it will be lovely.
Yes. There's a brother at the moment, he's called Hines, as in HINDZ, with locks, who's done talks about celibacy. So let's see if we can check him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has he broken his celibacy? Is he ready? Is he single? No, I'm just
joking. I don't know. You know what? You need to stick to the topic. Stick to the topic. We're goddesses, not rabbits.
Now.
I want the audience to know what they're coming back to. Back fresh and ready to go deep, because us Black women, we've got so much to offer. But we talk about it, we need to be clear, and
definitely
goddesses who do this.
So my lovelies, we have come to the end. Oh my God, it's gone so quickly. And I would like to say thank you to everybody who's been joining us each week. If you haven't, or if you're new to Seeing the Goddesses, we have a video. We have many videos up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. We've also got them in the Goddesses page. And we've also got a Goddesses of the Round Table website, so you can catch replays of any of the videos that you haven't seen. And if you need a reminder, if you need cheering up, just look at our videos. And if you need any help with any of the issues that we've talked about, please get in contact with any of us. You know, June is a therapist, I'm a therapist, Judy's a therapist, Hayley is a divine feminine healer, Teresa is a quantum mother healer, and Jackie's a self-care coach, and Gail is a branding expert, and she does it with intuitiveness and spirituality. And we've, you know, so, and I am I'm a goddess, a badass goddess healer. So get in touch if you need help. You know, this is the time for us to heal all these wounds that are coming up and this darkness that's coming up. So get in touch with us, you know, and do the work. We're here to help you. We do the work, do the love work. It's all about love, 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 love. That's what it's all about. We've got to love ourselves. So, you know, stay connected with us, people. It's been such an honor to serve you all. And what else do I need to say? Well, I don't want to go, but no, we will be back. We will be back soon. We'll just watch out for announcements, but we are taking the sabbatical for a while. We've got other projects that require our attention, and it's been such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this, and yeah. Say goodbye, ladies.
Not a goodbye.
Bye. Lots of love.
Au revoir. Love you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah.